Hi, I'm a 50-year-old Korean man, and I'm feeling a little worried, or quite worried now, because I quit my job about half a year ago. And I quit my job because probably many of you are thinking something similar. You know, you're getting older, not sure if this desk job is what life is cut out to be. You wanted purpose, and you didn't want to go out like that. And for those reasons, I decided to leave, even though leaving at 50 is not the same as leaving when you're younger, because basically you have a lot of time to recover if whatever you do after fails. But when you're 50, there's not much time left. I mean, yeah, you can say that people live longer and longer lives, but coming back to a corporate job when you're this old is not easy. Ageism is a thing. People don't like to pay and hire old people. I mean, let's just face it, it's a fact. I know firsthand because I've been involved in hiring decisions where I was in the hiring spot. And I can tell you that it does matter. And to say that it doesn't is living a life of fantasy. So knowing this, I still resigned and quit my job because it's important, I thought, to preach and live what I preach. And that is, if I'm going to try and help people in their lives and in their careers, then I need to be able to actually show that whatever I'm preaching, that I'm practicing, and that it can actually succeed. So that's why, I decided to leave my job and do this FoFty thing. But it's not easy, and I'm actually very worried because, well, let me tell you my configuration. I'm going to be 50 in September, so I might look like maybe I'm not 50 or whatnot, but I'm 50, right? And that's old. That's old from a corporate employment point of view, and so that window of coming back, like I said earlier, is kind of gone, honestly. And so this is kind of it, which is absolutely risky, right? But I did it for the reasons I shared. And then I have two children, and I had them later in life. My eldest is 6 years old, and my youngest, she's going to be turning 2 in a week. And so, that's kind of old to be having a 50-year-old father with a 2-year-old daughter. It's not normal. And what that does is it makes, paying for things to support and have them grow stretched out to a later and later stage in my life. So like by the time she reaches college, which is expensive and I have to pay for it, that's going to be about 16 years from now. And what? I'm going to be 66 years old at that point. So that's another configuration setup that's not easy. The other thing is, there was a divorce involved in my life earlier. And so, my ex-wife and I split up some time ago, over 16 years ago. And that was a difficult separation for many reasons. But what it did is also, it took away a lot of the savings I had because we had split and so I just had to actually start all over again. And at that point in my life, I did a startup back then. So yes, I've had experiences building companies and leaving jobs before, but it's not the same at this age, right? And so yeah, there was a financial hit from that divorce situation back then that I had to recover from. So I don't have like this long, accumulated wealth thing that people maybe who didn't have a divorce don't have to go through. So it's not like I'm a millionaire or, some billionaire or mega millionaire type of thing. I mean, I do have some money stashed away, which was one of the reasons why I thought it was a good idea. But it's not like I'm set and I can retire and never work again. I do need income streams, particularly because what I said earlier, my children are young. So these are some of the situations. And, being a Korean too, there's a lot of culture involved with your parents and having to support them. My father he's going to be turning 90, so thank goodness he's healthy, and same with my mom. So I don't have to worry so much about their health. But there is going to be a time when they're not going to be there because nobody lives forever. And that's going to also cause some situations and issues, given my circumstance. And they're totally, I mean, being the Korean parents they are, my dad's kind of cool with what I'm doing because he's kind of lived that life himself and is living it actually. But, my mom, I love you to death, Mom, but we still have issues. She thinks I'm gone cuckoo, right? And perhaps I have, for doing this. So there's a lot of stress in the family in my side, regarding what I'm doing. And the other thing is, what I don't have is I don't have a lot of debt. So that's a good thing, right? In fact, I have no debt, and that includes any credit card bills or any automobile or even housing debt. But on the flip side, I don't have a house. I never bought a house in my life. I've been renting my entire life. And I just, I can relate to all the younger generations. In Korea, younger Korean generations, they're disillusioned. It's not just Korea, like like Hong Kong and even here in Singapore, like the cost of living is so high and they're priced out of the housing market that they see the math and they're like, I don't know, man. I don't know how I'm going to be working and saving enough to buy a house when the house prices are just so high. And I never got a house from my parents. They didn't like gift me a house. And there are many people like that, both young and old, who may be in a similar situation. And so they continue to rent, like myself. And so rent is a continuing cost, for me. And the other thing I'll also mention is I don't really have Social Security or here in Singapore CPF. Well, I became a PR here recently, but just recently. So it's not like I have this huge payout coming my way of some kind of a pension plan from the government that I can rely on until basically I pass out. So that's not something I have. So these are serious challenges, right? That I'm staring at, and there's no guarantee that what I'm doing with FoFty, and the whole point of FoFty is not to become a millionaire. It's to help people like me, like you, like just everyday Joes. I had a career that was okay, maybe a little bit above average, but I'm not some like superstar or some rock star or some billionaire. Successful startup guy or something like that. I'm not a CEO of some huge like multi-billion-dollar company. I had a corporate job and a couple of startup gigs, and they did okay. So it's just for people like us, right? The majority of us. I'm just one of you, and I'm trying to figure out a way to show people like us that there's other pathways in life. That's not just through the typical salaryman, like especially in Asian culture and Korean and Japanese included, and Singaporean to some degree, and Chinese way to live your entire life, right? So that's the push I have. But man, I'm pushing up against some pretty strong headwinds, and there's no success guaranteed in what I'm doing, and it's not just my life I have to worry about now. It's also the life of my wife and my two children and how young they are, and that I'm going to have to be responsible for that. And so it's a worrying situation. I'll be lying to say that I'm not worried. Even that's not true. It's worrying, and I'm not trying to get rid of the worry or pretend that it doesn't exist, because that's part of the thing that I preach is you shouldn't do that. You should acknowledge that it is, and that's what I'm trying to do here is acknowledging it, right? As part of practicing what I preach. And it does get scary, and it's not scary every single moment of the time, but there are times like today where you sit down and look at the finances and you're like, wow, this is the runway, this is what needs to get done by a certain time. And the worry creeps in, and it's a serious worry, right? But the key is I'm not letting that control who I am and what I'm doing. And that's the important point is to remain in control of the situation, understand the risk that you're taking. And I do have a calculation on the risk. So it's not like I'm being stupid here and being some cowboy doing something that's completely irrational. But the odds are stacked up. The odds are stacked up, and the consequences involve people outside of me. And that changes the game. You see, when I did this before and I was in my 30s or 40s doing startups and quitting my job, I always knew that there was a way I could take that experience and come back to corporate world and start making money again, which I did. But in this case, look, I was faced with a situation. I knew I was turning 50. I knew that probably going to have to retire in your early 60s from corporate world because nobody's going to keep hiring you as a salaried worker that long. So I said, look, man, I got about 10 years, right? And in 10 years, did I save up enough money to just peace out, retire completely stress-free? And the answer was not really, right? And I don't know, but I don't think I'm the only one in this situation, right? I worry that I will live a long life, that I might get sick, and I have really young children to support for a long, long time. So I said, you know what? I can't rely on this pathway. It's not going to work out. And I said, look, listen, maybe if I've got that 10-year runway from 50 to 60, and that is the most productive part of your life, maybe I use that time to actually build something, build a new business or a new thing that I can continue and not retire from and actually do until I'm like 80 or even 90 years old, like my dad. And, the question was, can I do that? Can I take this next 10 years and build it? Because if I can do it, that will generate the income and I can just do that thing for until, I can't anymore and not be held under some corporate or some company policy and financial situation and strategy where you gotta, peace out when you're in your early 60s because they're not gonna keep people until they're 70 or 80 years old as employees of corporate land, right? And so that was the decision I faced, and I basically said, look, man, I'm gonna go that path. I'm gonna take that last 10 years, which is the most productive and best 10 years, and I'm gonna use that to try and build FoFty out, which is a whole thing on how to help other people like myself. And that's my passion, right? I really want to see if I can help people, and if I can build a business and income stream while doing that, all the better. And so that's the decision I made, and that's what I'm sticking with, because I do believe in myself and that I can build something if given, and I don't know about a 10-year runway, but some runway, right? And I can do stuff on the side. Do I have 10 years in my age bracket to build something successful? I believe so. I believe so. I do have confidence and passion in myself to do that. And that's the main thing, right? For people out there thinking about doing something similar or worried about your retirement finances or how things are going to work out for you in the end, look at your runway and see how you're going to use that time, because you can't go back in time, right? Once that time's done, it's over. So you got to think about how you're going to best use that time in order to prepare for the future. And what I'm trying to show is that there's more than one path. There's a path you can build yourself. And look, I don't know if I'm going to succeed, honestly. I might crash and burn and fail. But even in the crashing and burning and failure, I do feel that by sharing more of this type of, journey in like what's really happening behind the scenes and how it's going, will hopefully help others, right, to decide whether or not they want to do it themselves or not. And so I realized that even in failure, I can actually still help people. It was kind of a win-win situation and something I decided I wanted to do. But I got to tell you, man, it's worrisome, it's stressful. I told you the reasons why I'm worried, and these are very legitimate reasons. But like I said, you can't let the worry own you. And I'm going to try and continue to keep in control and go down this path and continue to share as much as I can for people. And if you find stuff like this helpful, join me on the journey. Just watch. I'll be posting more things so you can see like really what's happening, right? The actual life of trying to do this. And hopefully that'll help you, right? Make your decisions and live your life. And I hope to be able to contribute to each and every one of you who's watching this in that way. So that's it for this episode. But I plan to do more of these in the near future. And hope that it helps. Peace.